Inshallah, next we're going to have Sheikh Dr. Mohamed Allali. MashaAllah, he has a dual PhD in the fields of mathematics and electrical engineering. He's an associate professor at Chapman University in Orange, California. He's the khatib and speaker at various universities, masajid, and conferences. His expertise is in the discipline of tarbiyah, self-development, and is an active participant in mass. And inshallah ta'ala, if you haven't already throughout this entire conference, please take notes, either paper and pen, or through your smartphones, because maybe 6 years ago, Dr. Allali at TI camp, he looked at the brothers and nobody in the brothers section had a notebook during his lecture. And from that time, he told us, I don't want to see anybody without a notebook at this camp. And from then, subhanAllah, this is the effect, alhamdulillah, of the mass events, especially Tarbiyah 9 camp. From that day on, I either had a notebook or my notepad on my phone is backed up in the cloud. Alhamdulillah. So, inshallah ta'ala, take this advice from that time and take notes. Jazakumullah khair.
By the way, just to clarify one thing, I say that, but it turns out only the brothers did not take notes. The sisters, most of them used to take notes. That's reality, to be fair, okay? Right? And it's always the case, always the case. I think brothers, they think they're smart. That's what they don't think. But if you ask them a question later, it already evaporated. Again, it's a true fact. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا المرسلين سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. I'd like to thank Sheikh Suhaib Mullah, a dear friend, very close to my heart. We shared some really great experiences in the past. And I ask Allah to, as He gathered us today here, to gather us in paradise with all of you, inshallah. So, as he said, the knowledge about Allah Azza wa Jal, the knowledge about His names, is a very noble knowledge. There's nothing more noble than to know about Allah Azza wa Jal. And the best way to know about Allah Azza wa Jal is through His names. To know who He is. You know, people, when they receive the order from Allah Azza wa Jal, any order from Allah Azza wa Jal, they are divided into 3 categories. People in general, Muslims, non-Muslims alike. There are 3 categories. Category 1, they reject the order. 100%. I don't believe in it. I don't believe in Allah. I don't believe in Islam. Or even if they are Muslims, they will say, this is not Islam. I don't think this is Islam. Islam is something with the heart, it's nothing with this. So they reject it 100%. The second kind, they would not say it up front, but they would find ways to go around the order of Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. They will find ways. And the third kind, those that will accept the order because they know very well the one who gave the order. And they will love to execute and do the order because they love the one who gave them the order. That's why when you know about Allah Azza wa Jal, then His orders are not burden anymore. Prayer does not become a burden. Zakat does not become a burden. Reading the Quran is not a burden. Because you love the one who gave you the order. That's why these people, they are living in a state of happiness and tranquility. Sometimes they are afflicted with so many things, but still, subhanAllah, they are steadfast, always happy. Because they love the one who told them to pray. They love the one who told them to do so and so. So keep this in mind. That's why it is very important to know Allah Azza wa Jal, so we can love Him. Because the more you know about Him, the more you will love your Master. I'll start with a story. Today, inshallah, as Sheikh Suhaib said, inshallah is an introduction just to kind of explain this topic of Asma'ullah al-Husna. And inshallah tomorrow we'll be at the same time with Sheikh Abdul Jalil Zaguri. Inshallah we'll give some concrete examples, inshallah. Some, we're going to pick some names. We can't. 99, we cannot cover 99 in a couple sessions. So we're going to pick some, inshallah, some names, inshallah, together, inshallah, we will shed some light, inshallah. But today we'd like to convey a certain message. Let me start with the story. And this story will tell us that the knowledge of the Asma Allah al-Husna, by the way, Asma Allah al-Husna, Husna is feminine. Husna is the feminine of Ahsan. So Ahsan means the best of the best. There's Hasan, which is good. There's Ahsan, the best. For masculine and feminine, you have Husna. Like you have Yusra, Usra. Usra is the feminine of Ahsan. Yusra is the feminine of Aysar. And so on and so forth. We find it in the Quran. So, just to know the names, and if they don't have practical effects in our lives, then there is something there. I'll give you an example to illustrate the point. A man came to Ibrahim ibn Adham. Ibrahim ibn Adham was a great man, was a righteous man, Murabbi. He had knowledge, but also he could touch hearts. So this man came to him and said, "Oh Imam, I am addicted to sins. I cannot stop doing sins. مدمن على المعاصي يا إمام. مدمن على المعاصي. And I want you to help me, to find a solution, to guide me, so I can get rid of the sins." So Ibrahim Adham, I know this story is like very popular and some of you already know about it, but I'd like to convey the message through this story. So he told him, he said, okay, there are five conditions. If you meet those 5 conditions, then it's okay. You can commit any sin you want. Condition number 1, he said, okay, you want to commit a sin against Allah Azza wa Jal, then go find a land that does not belong to Allah, and then commit that sin in that land. The man replied, because he had the knowledge, but he did not touch his heart. He had the knowledge that Allah is Al-Malik. He said, "Oh Imam, how can it be? How can I find a land that does not belong to Allah?" So this man knows already the name of Al-Malik, the ultimate king, the supreme king, the king of kings. So he said, "Oh Imam, no way, I cannot find a land that does not belong to Allah." They told him, okay, let's go for the second one. He said, if you want to commit a sin, then go to a land that belongs to Allah. Of course, the heavens and earth belong to Allah, and then hide from His sight. Do it, but make sure He does not see you. This man, he has the knowledge about Al-Basir, Al-Samir, Al-Raqib. He has the knowledge about the names of Allah. He knows Allah is all seer, all here. And then he says, how can it be? How can I go somewhere and hide and Allah cannot see me? Allah sees me wherever I go. Okay, let's go to the third one. The third one is said, okay, that if you want to sin, then don't eat from the sustenance of God. Don't eat from the rizq of Allah Azza wa Jal. Because, it doesn't make sense that you eat from His sustenance and still you sin against Him. Just how he said, how can it be? There is only one Razzaq. There's only one that gives sustenance. It's Allah. This man, he knows, he has the knowledge. The knowledge is in his brain, in his mind, but did not reach his heart yet. That channel is not working yet. The day the channel will work and then the knowledge will go to the heart, then we will change to better people. The knowledge, we have it. Some of you here, we have more knowledge than me and the Shaykh. But again, it's not the knowledge, as I'm going to mention later. It is that connection between the Iman and the Amal. So, and he said, okay, I'll give you a fourth condition. When it's time for you to die, do all kinds of sins, but when it's time to die, tell the Malak al-Maut, the angel of death, to give you some time so you can repent and you can go back to Allah. This man, he knows very well that Allah Azza wa Jal الذي خلق الموت تبارك الذي بيده الملك الذي خلق الموت والحياة. Allah, He created the death and He created life. So Allah Azza wa Jal, He's the one who controls when a person dies and when a person is born. He said, no way, I cannot convince the angel of death to give me time. Fifth one, he said, okay, then if the angels, they come to take you in the day of judgment, to throw into the hellfire, then push them away. This man has the knowledge that those angels are stern and firm. عليها 19. They don't compromise. Those angels, great angels, they follow the orders of Allah Azza wa Jalla. So he has the knowledge. But he says, how can I push them away? Impossible. So he failed all his conditions. Then the Imam, the Rabbi told him, how can you sin against Allah Azza wa Jalla? And you cannot go to a land that does not belong to him. How can you sin against Allah and He sees you? How can you sin against Allah and you cannot deprive yourself from His sustenance? How can you sin against Allah and you cannot push death away even for a second? How can you sin against Allah and you are so weak that you cannot push away those angels? You see, this story tells you that the knowledge is there. We have the knowledge. Yes, there are some names that you need to ask a scholar to explain it because we're not familiar with. Like, for example, if I say, what do you know about Al-Muqit? There is a name. Al-Muqit, Al-Rashid. So those names, I mean, you ask someone that knows, but most of the names we know. So it's not the knowledge, it is the willingness to apply that knowledge of Asma Allah Husna into our daily lives. There are 5 things I would like to share, 6 things I would like to share with you. And it's very important when we talk about this topic of Asma Allah Husna. I'm going to go quick just because of time. I'm only like 10 minutes, right? Something like that. Let's wait. Oh, really? Should we get, so it's beyond 8:30? Oh, okay.
Sorry, 7:40, so
Oh, you have to convince them. You gotta stay with us. Yeah, I don't mind. But. Okay, number 1. You can have a PhD in Aqidah. You can have a PhD in the Islamic creed. You can teach at one of the prestigious universities in the Islamic world, teach Aqidah. The Doctor Fulan Fulani, Fulan Shamil, he is the professor of Aqidah and creed. But 0 when it comes to real life. 0. That person teaches like Aqidah Tahawiyah and the complexities of it. But when it comes to real life, he does not apply al-Razzaq as the Sheikh said today. He knows that the one who gives sustenance is Allah. And he's worried that if he doesn't say the truth, if he says the truth, then somebody will deprive him from his risk and from his salary, monthly salary. So he'll be quiet, he will not say the truth, or some of them they will go to extreme where they distort the truth. Why? Because I'm worried that they're gonna stop the kind of the salary. Where is the al-Razzaq that you teach at the university? Where is it? So unfortunately, we have cases like this. Know that to have a PhD in Aqidah or Creed or to know about Asma Allah al-Husna is not a condition for you to, mashallah, to be one of the awliya of Allah and to be close to Allah. You can find somebody with little knowledge, but he understands whatever he knows and he applies it in his life. He knows what al-Razzaq is. So he's worried of none, of no one. He knows the only one who can change his risk is Allah Azza wa Jal. He knows Allah is Al-Qawi, the most powerful. So he's afraid of no one. No one can scare him. Because he has true belief and faith that Allah is Al-Qawi, the most strong, the most powerful. So that is the first thing to keep in mind when we study Asma Allah Husna. Number 2, the Shaykh mentioned it, and it's very important. Allah says, لَيْسَ كَمِثْلِهِ شَيْءٌ وَهُوَ السَّمِيعُ الْبَصِيرُ. There is none like unto him, none like unto Allah Azza wa Jal, and He is the all-hearer, the all-seer, all-seeing. So, we cannot compare ourselves to Allah, we compare no one to Allah Azza wa Jal, but at the same time, Allah Azza wa Jal has those sifat, those asma, He can hear you and He can see you. How does He do that? He does it in a way that befits His majesty. Not the way we hear, not the way we see. He does it subhanahu wa ta'ala in a way يَلِيقُ بِجَلَالِهِ that fits His majesty. So, for example, when we say Asma Allah Husna Al-Alim, the all-knower, do not compare it with the way we understand Alim. For us humans, Alim, this man is Alim. He is very knowledgeable. He could be like the one with the most knowledge like in this community. can say. He is the Alim in this convention. But Alim here, before he reached that level, he was ignorant about few things. And then he trained himself and he became Alim. In the future, and I hope inshallah you have a good health for a long, long time, maybe you're going to start losing what? Some of that knowledge, right? You understand? With the age, people start like forgetting. But with Allah it's different. Allah is always Al-Alim. Allah says about himself, وَمَا كَانَ رَبُّكَ نَسِيًّا. Allah does not forget. Al-Hayy, for example, the ever-living. For us, we are alive, but before we're not there, and then after we're gonna die. For Allah, is Al-Hayy. He's not like us. He's ever-living. He doesn't have a beginning, he doesn't have an end. So always make sure that you don't try to compare. You don't try to compare the Asma Allah with what we know. It's beyond our imagination. You can think, because the names are there for us to think and ponder, but do not compare. Comparison is, you're comparing two things that are not the same. Ladies can be patient, there's nothing like unto him, and he's all here falsely. Number 3, it's very important as a practical lesson to ponder about those names. And the best way to do it, if you don't want to take those 99 in and go over them one by one, just when you do the wird, when you read the Quran, many verses the end with Asma Allah al-Husna. Many verses. At the end you will see Ghafur Rahim, Aziz Hakim, and so on and so forth. What we need to do as an exercise, it's a good exercise, ponder about those names. Usually they come as a pair. Usually they come as a pair. Ghafur Rahim, Aziz Hakim. And I'm going to give you an example. Ponder about the verse, and then why it ended like that. There is a connection. These are the words of Allah. It's all His wisdom. Let me give you an example. When Allah says in many, many verses, Al-Azizu Al-Hakim. Is it just like that? Al-Aziz Al-Hakim, when you take Aziz here, Hakim here? That's what humans do. You know, when they write, human beings, when they write like an essay, they will try to use different words. They mean the same thing just to make sure there is no repetition. For Allah Azza wa Jalla, He's not like us. These are the words of Allah. Every word has its weight. Even letters have their weight. So Al-Aziz Al-Hakim, why are they always together most of the time? We have to understand what Al-Aziz is and what Al-Hakim is. Al-Aziz. Al-Aziz is Al-Ghalibu ala amri. He is someone, when you say somebody like a human being, he is Azizun fi qawlihi. This person, he has izzah with his people. That means whatever he tells them to do, they will do it. Because he's the leader, he's someone they kind of they look at like, put in high status. That's called Al-Aziz. But Al-Aziz, even if you are a leader, does not mean that you are wise. You can be Aziz in your tribe, but you can be a disaster for them. For example, Musaylima al-Kadhdab. You know Musaylima, heard about the story of Musaylima? Musaylima, he wanted to, he claimed he was a prophet. And he said that Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, so this is it. That's why the prophet, he called him al-Kadhdab, the liar. Musaylima, he sent a letter to Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he said, Min Musaylima Rasulillah ila Muhammad Rasulillah. From Musaylima, the messenger of God, to Muhammad, the messenger of God. God has divided earth into 2 parts, 1 part for you, 1 part for me. This guy is, his name is Musaylima, and he was the leader of his tribe. He was the leader. And the Prophet, of course, he replied, he said, Min Muhammad Rasulillah ila Musaylima al-Kadhdab. He said, from Muhammad, the messenger of God, to Musaylima the liar, the earth belongs to Allah, He gives it to whoever He wants. That was the reply of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You say, no, that's fine. No. He said, the earth belongs to Allah. Because Muhammad, he knows who Allah is. It belongs to Allah and He gives it to whoever He wants. Anyway, this man, Musaylima al-Kadhdab, he was a leader. He was Aziz in his tribe. And they used to follow him even though they knew that he was a liar. He tried to make something similar to Quran, and it's really funny, but still, and Arabs, they were good in terms of Arabic. He knew it's just like nonsense. But still, they would follow him just out of subhanAllah, ta'assub, and out of tribalism and things like this. So this guy is Aziz in his tribe, but not Hakim. Allah Azza wa Jalla says, Al-Aziz Al-Hakim. Yes, he's the master of all. He does what he wants, but with wisdom. Do you understand? That's why the two asma are very important to understand what they mean. And you have to read the verse and what it says, so to ponder about the Quran. And we have to start doing this exercise. Daily exercise. Ponder about the Quran. You start with this. Just focus on the last, the names in the last part of the verse. Very quickly. Number 4, and I think Sheikh mentioned it, is that when we mention those names, it could be, as I said, dua tanah. You can say, oh Allah, and you can thank Him for what something He did for you, or He bestowed favors on you. You can thank Allah for it. Or dua al-ubudiyya, just because you love Allah. You don't have to ask Him. Sometimes you're out of love for Allah. Ya Rahman, Ya Rahim. As the Prophet said, لا نحصي ثناء عليك أنت كما أثنيت على نفسك. We cannot do justice by thanking you. You are as you praise yourself. Doesn't matter how eloquent we are, we can never praise you the way you are. You praise yourself through those names, and we love those names. And the last one is dua al-mas'ala or dua al-talab, is when you ask Allah, Ya Hannan, Ya Mannan, give me this and give me that. Number 5, very quickly, there is a debate amongst scholars about Ismullah al-A'zam. There is a hadith that says that Allah has one name that is the greatest of all names. And scholars try to come up with what is this name? And that name is special because in the hadith it says that name, if you ask Allah with that name, that He will forgive you, He will give you whatever you ask for. So they try to go to the hadith that talks about it, and then try to derive the Ismullah al-A'zam. I'll tell you about but it's not like ijma', it's not like all scholars, they agree, but many scholars, they took a hadith that is kind of like the most authentic compared to the other ones. If you rank them, that is the most authentic. It didn't reach the hadith like Sahih, but it's more authentic than others, where the Prophet said, "Itabisuha," that look for the name in 3 surahs, Surah Al-Baqarah, and Surah Al-Imran, and Surah Taha. And when scholars they looked for it, they found it Al-Hayy Al-Qayyum. Al-Hayy Al-Qayyum is Al-Kursi, and in the beginning of Surah Al-Imran, and in Surah Taha. So they said Al-Hayy Al-Qayyum. So it doesn't hurt. But in fact, it only brings joy and benefits to the heart when you say Ya Hayy Qayyum. It's not bid'ah or something new. No, the Prophet said the hadith, and then the scholars they made their ijtihad, but it's not 100% guaranteed that it's the one. What I like about some scholars they said, Subhanallah, Ismullah al-A'zam. When you ask Allah dua, and he said when you start trembling, sometimes you make dua, you don't even know what you ask for. If I ask you, what did you ask today? What did you ask Allah today? In Fajr, Dhuhr, Asr, Maghrib, Isha. Do you remember exactly what you asked Him today? Or is it just like the normal things that you ask for, and then you finish? No. Do you have a plan when you meet Allah, like you're going to meet someone that you respect? So do you have a plan today for the dua? They said that when you start making dua, and it happens sometimes, when you start feeling like your heart is trembling and you find yourself, subhanAllah, khalas, you are just in a different world. They said, whatever you're going to ask Allah for, that's it. Those beautiful names, they will be like, what is Allah? That's the ijtihad of scholars. I'm just telling you different opinions. The last one, and that's a very important one, I'll conclude this one. It doesn't matter how much you ask Allah Azza wa Jal, even if you use all the names, even if you are very eloquent and you memorize all the names, and you say that, if our lifestyle, listen carefully my brothers and sisters, if our lifestyle is a lifestyle that is displeasing to Allah Azza wa Jal, those names will have no effect. Muhammad gave a good example. He said, رب أشعث أخضر. He said, give an example that here is a man that traveled for a long time, and then he became dusty, and he's like dust all over his clothes and hair. And then he stops, and then he raises his hand. And imagine you don't know about this person, you're just observing this. I'm going to make it dramatic, but this is like this is the way the Prophet said. And then this man raises his hand very high. He says, Ya Rab, Ya Rab. Now, if you don't know the rest of the hadith, and if I show you a video of a man traveling for a long time and dust all over, and then he kind of what, start making dua in a very emotional way, you're going to say, MashaAllah, look at the khushu'. And he's traveling, and the traveler, his dua is answered. And MashaAllah, he's by himself. What kind of ikhlas is this? And he's doing it like, Ya Rab, Ya Rab. The Prophet said that his food is haram, from haram sources. Clothes are from haram sources. Ghudiya bil haram, that everything, he's nourished, everything, his lifestyle is haram. أَنَّ يُسْتَجَابُ لَهُ. How does he want Allah to answer him? Very important. If we want to benefit from the names of Allah Azza wa Jal, let's look carefully at our lifestyle. I'm not saying it has to be exactly like Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, because that's going to be impossible, because he's like, number one, he's our goal that you need to reach. Because if you reach that goal, what's next? He's the top. So we are still, and we never. But he is the kind of like the goal for us. But I'm saying if we have something that displeases Allah Azza wa Jal, if something that you feel like I have to hide it from my friends, I have to hide it from my people that I respect, you should not see this in my household. This is not the way I wanted to see me. Know that it's going to be displeasing to Allah Azza wa Jal. So let's, inshallah, make a commitment to Allah Azza wa Jal to look carefully and with ikhlas and sincerity to our lifestyles, and make sure that we don't do things that displease Allah Azza wa Jal. This way, those names that we recite will be barakah, and Allah will show us with mercy. I ask Allah Azza wa Jal to give us the strength and the willingness to serve Him the way He pleases. May Subhanahu wa Ta'ala give us the knowledge to learn about those beautiful names and to apply them, inshallah, with love. With love, not with burden. To apply them with love in our daily lives. Jazakallah khair.
Jazakallah khair, Dr. Allali and Sheikh Mohamed.